this. And Patrick, you always do that right when I'm getting into my monologue, and I got control tonight. Uh, so we're going to share that screen one more time, and I'm going to bring this thing up. We are back here. This is all about call out. Thank you guys for joining us tonight. This is for those CERT members who want to support the Los Angeles City Fire Department. And you guys have taken the CERT course. And hopefully, you guys are active with your area neighborhood teams. That's going to be a big part of what we talk about tonight. So let's get right into it, shall we? Carl, are you okay with me putting the revving the engine into first gear?
Run with it.
All right, introductions. For those of you who don't know me, and we've been talking here for a little while, but I am Chin Thammasaengsri, and I am the South Bureau Coordinator for the Community Emergency Response Team, the LAFD Community Emergency Response Team. I've been in that role for about 7 years. Prior to that, I was the Battalion Coordinator for Battalion 18 for about a year. So and then I was a rank and file member for about a year. They saw something in me and they said, "Hey, why don't you run things?" And I said, "Okay." Stop. So what I do when I'm not doing this is I'm a regular guy like everybody else. I've got 33 years with the CBS television network. I work at CBS Studio Center in Studio City. Other stuff, I'm president of my neighborhood association and have been for probably about 10 years, about the same amount of time I've been with CERT. And I'm very, very active throughout my community for the most part. Carl, you want to give us a little backstory on yourself?
Before I do, Merlin, would you please mute yourself?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. No problem. There's a little background noise. And also, Chin, your screen is not sharing. It's blank.
My screen is black?
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Well, he fixes that. I'm Carl Ginsberg. I'm West Bureau Coordinator. I've been with CERT since 1902, it feels like, but actually about 16 years. I was a Battalion 4 coordinator originally, and then I got roped into being a division coordinator before we had the bureaus, and we had 3 divisions in the city. And as that moved along, when it became 4 bureaus, I was assigned to West Bureau because I do live on the west side. My private life, I was a programmer, or still am. I had a software system for the garment industry, which I'm still playing around with. I still have a bunch of customers. And I'm also very involved with another nonprofit, which is a group that we put in thousands of smoke alarms around the city. We were also concerned with wildfires. Ooh, yeah, you got it. I'm in there. Yeah, there you go. You got it now. I'm not, yeah, just blow it up. Ah, perfect. Okay. What else? So I work with a nonprofit called MySafe LA. We do smoke alarms, and we also are the wildfire council coordinator for the county of Los Angeles, and I am the lead on that as the wildfire community coordinator for the county and for the city of LA. So we work very closely with the fire department. And my history with the fire department has made it my work in the nonprofit more successful, because I know a lot of folks in the fire department. I've been around long enough to meet, to have 3,000 good friends out there, because that's how many firefighters we have out there. And I can't even remember how many of them I have been introduced to and known and seen at fires and seen at all kind of events. And it's always been great because they generally recognize me, because there's a lot of them who want to meet. They recognize me, and I go, "Hey, how you doing?" And I don't know who they are. So because I can't remember that many people, but it's been a rewarding experience working with the fire department. It has at times been frustrating, but overall we've accomplished quite a lot, especially when it comes to what we're talking about tonight, which is the call-out team, which I started about 7, maybe 8 years ago now.
Carl, I was telling the group here, I said, I think your math's a little faulty, because I've been here 9, almost 10 years, and I swear that call out team was up and rolling, or maybe I just didn't know it.
Oh, the call out team was, yes, but we weren't really getting called out for much.
Okay.
But about 7 years ago, I got working with the crew at Fire Station 59, the captains over there, and some others that I knew. I happen to know actually the fire chief at the time and the chief of staff, so I was able to worm my way into getting a vehicle to do hydration. Um, Time went by, it caught on because it saved the department from having to shut down the staff of a rescue to operate another vehicle called the Rehab air tender, or we commonly call it the rat rig,
Mhm.
affectionately, which is a big rig that's for hydration and it has fans on it and food service and all kinds of stuff. But it has to be driven by a firefighter because of its size. So over time, it grew, and we got a new vehicle. We got a rescue instead of a screw, a very, very old but unreliable pickup truck. But we did a lot, and we got it going. And then as it became more embedded in the system, we got new vehicles, and now we have 3 rescues and one
One Suburban.
Suburban. Yeah, I can remember the Suburban. And it's a Suburban. We have one somewhere in the system, but we don't have it yet. So we'll be up to 5 shortly. Um, and now we're all over the city, and we do whatever they want us to do. And it's fun going to fires. It's interesting. It's fascinating watching our fire department work. They appreciate us without reservation. When we hand them a cold drink, or we give them a sandwich because we're doing meal service, or we help serve, dinners or lunches out of those big trays that they bring out. Um, you get a lot of appreciation, and it's rewarding because we're keeping them hydrated so they don't fall down and get sick. We're feeding them so they can put the fire out effectively, and they appreciate it. So you're going to get a lot of positive feedback, and if that's something that makes you feel good, that's great too. Uh,
Absolutely. Absolutely. And your
so,
introduction was 4 times longer than mine.
well, because I know that you'll talk more later, and, and I'm trying to add to Patrick anyway. No, I'm not really, because
Folks,
that can't be done.
folks,
Um,
we have a great time. You can see that we're a very cohesive group of people and good friends and everything, because good friends could rib each other like we do around here.
and,
So,
and a secret, when Chin and I are in the rig and we're heading downtown and we're stuck in
oh
traffic,
no,
wherever it is, we sing old time songs back from the 40s.
we do
Classics.
all kinds of dinner time theater.
Yeah, so we have a good time and we joke around, and it's perfectly good to do that. But we don't do it when we're on scene. We try to be as serious as we can. Although, if you know a firefighter, you can joke around with them a little bit, but you have to respect that they're sworn officers and they're putting a life at risk. So all due
Absolutely.
respect should always be shown to them.
It
Uh,
is. It definitely is, and there is a place for having the fun part and the place for being serious about it. If you look at this picture before I move on, there's actually a very fun aspect of it. So if you've been
guy up on
looking,
the balcony, where's the guy taking the picture of us taking a picture of him?
yeah, it's like, and Carl, thank you for giving that up so fast, but but there you go. So now that we're done with the introductions, and I will say before I leave, Carl is the guy who taught me everything I know about this call out game of ours. And valuable mentor, a very good friend of mine, if not a best friend of mine. So he is the guy. He is the guy that I will walk through any door with, as they say. And really, anybody on this call out team is that good that we would all walk through a door with each other. So moving on from the introductions, how does it all start, folks? Well, let's get ready, set, and go. And the talk about call out is not going to go right into call out right now. It's not. What we're going to do is we're going to talk about being a part of the neighborhood CERT operations. By the way, the photo you're looking at was taken about a couple of years ago at a training that was taking place up in Santa Clarita. We were invited to be a part of a training that was hosted by Task Force 3 or something like that, who was in from, I believe the Pacific Northwest, and they actually had our people come out, and we participated in that drill. And it was a full spectrum earthquake drill. We got to watch the pros at work. That is one of the benefits of being a part of call out. But before you can get to this, you got to start out with your neighborhood team. The first thing I want to say before we get all up into this is that, one, if you're here tonight, I'm going to assume that you're CERT trained. That is one of the prerequisites to even being able to talk about call out, is going through the CERT basic program. So we're going to assume that everybody here is CERT trained. And as I said earlier to a lot of you folks who joined me early, this is a real different type of volunteering. In many cases, we all think of it as, hey, I'll be down at the homeless shelter on Thursday between 2 to 6. I'll serve meals on Thanksgiving Day. Or maybe I'm somewhere else. Maybe I'm at an elder care home and I'm visiting and giving time to those folks. It's something you can do on a very set time schedule. What we do here is a lot different. And this point was actually brought up to me by some newer members who I was working with last summer during Fire Patrol. And they really put it into perspective. And basically, what they said is, you can volunteer to be available for CERT for, a week. Let's say you're available for a week between 6 in the morning to 6 at night. You may actually go through that entire week and never get a call. Or it may be 100 degrees outside and you're getting called 4 times a day to come out and work an incident. Or you're getting called to work an outreach and you're working it from 10 to 2 or something like that, some really random time. This is something you have to kind of consider. It's one thing to be able to say, I'm going to be someplace Thursday between 2 to 6. It's another thing to be at home just saying, waiting for the phone to ring. It's something that you will get used to, but I want to point that out because it was pointed out to me in a very, very eloquent way. So just pointing that out to you folks. The objectives of call out. Here are the call out objectives. And this photograph comes from a duty we worked a few years ago, which was the renaming of Obama Boulevard from Rodeo Road here in South Bureau. This was a very big event, and Carl, you can see, is there. And you can see we've got a very tight group of people here, tight in terms of everything from the way they look to the skills they possess. So, and on the end is one of our youngest members, Rion Rains, next to Carl. May Brado, who many of you may know, one of the hardest working members we have, Renee Dutro, and Terrence Gomes.
And you might mistake Terrence for Mario from the from the game, the cartoon.
I think that's why he lost the mustache, because he didn't want to be mixed with Donkey Kong or anything like that. So, but this group is a highly professional group, and we do a lot of stuff. Our objectives: to support the Los Angeles City Fire Department in its operations. That's the biggest thing coming out of the gate. The idea is to gain knowledge of operations and policies as related to the Los Angeles City Fire Department. That is a great learning aspect, which Carl talked about a great deal in his opening. We want to understand the CERT role in a peacetime environment. What you're going through, what you're sitting through right now is what we call peacetime. It is not you operating under a disaster like an earthquake, fire, or flood. But we do have a place. We allow the LAFD to view us as a competent and viable volunteer resource. That is the big thing. When Carl talked a little bit earlier about the origins of the call-out team, that's why I thought that his math was off, because the call-out team had been around, but they weren't getting called out as much as we are now. It took time for us to start ramping up to a place where they saw us as, one, competent to be on scene with them, and a viable volunteer resource. And from then, let's say 10 to 14 years ago to now, we have definitely become the number one volunteer resource that the LAFD goes for when its operations are in play. And this allows the Los Angeles City Fire Department firefighters to know us in our role. You would be surprised that the average firefighter in a fire station, maybe even a fire captain too, may not know what CERT is. Some of them say, I think I've seen you guys around in the green helmets, and so I have no idea what you do. We don't get that as much now as we did in the old days because one, our call out team is very, very visible at major incidents. We're also very visible in the neighborhood. We're doing a lot more exercises for our neighborhood groups. We're doing a lot more appearances at neighborhood councils. We're doing all those things that are making us much more visible. But there was a time, and it's a continuing education process to make sure that our Los Angeles City Fire Department firefighters know who we are. And a bullet point that isn't there, it's also about letting our community at large know who we are. Because guess what? If you guys put on your vest and your helmet right now, not that you do it right now, not in this rainy weather, but if you go down the street, how many people would actually know what you are? Probably very few. So the objectives are very, very clear and very, very laid out. All right, folks. Prior to even considering joining the call out team, what should you do? You should be starting out with your CERT area teams. And why is that? Well, a lot of the skills that you will get in call out and a lot of the interaction relates back and forth. You have to remember one thing, that going into the call out realm doesn't separate you from your neighborhood team colleagues. It's a little bit of a different duty that you're taking on, but a lot of the duties you learn in call out, you're taking back to the neighborhood and you're taking back to your neighborhood team. And guess what? You are also getting more connected to your neighborhood team as well through your call out role. And we'll talk about that a little bit more as we go through this. But if you aren't currently active with your call out with your neighborhood team, really start doing that, because again, some of the skills you learn there, like outreach and your skills at like looking at wires down and different things like that, are started right here in the neighborhood level, and they carry over into your call out life. This was a great note that was written. Actually, this was a great little piece of prose that was written by our Paul Shively. Paul Shively was the previous CERT Operation Valley Bureau coordinator prior to Christie, and he had been in that role for a long time. Carl knew him very well. I had a chance to work with him during my time, etc. And here is exactly what a CERT member is. I'm not talking about a call out member, not by a long shot, but just a CERT member in general. I'm going to read this part right here. For anyone that wants to be part of the CERT team, become known as a participant. How do you do that? Show yourself off by dressing appropriately at each event. Arrive early at training events. Assist with the setting up and offer assistance where you can. Be an active participant during those training sessions. Demonstrate leadership level skills via your conduct and your attitude. Offer suggestions instead of complaints. And take an active role in developing a neighborhood team around your home area. By demonstrating all of these skills listed above, you become visible and valuable to your team. This is just being a part of the neighborhood team. This is where it all starts. And one thing I added at the bottom is be sincere in your efforts. Be sincere in what you're doing here, because all of this is going to fit into your entrance into the call out world one way or another. Just a couple of quick things here. Paul said, show yourself off by addressing appropriately at each event. There is a uniform code that exists for our neighborhood team members. It's not too much different from our call out team uniform. There's a few differences here and there, but they're negligible. But that's one thing. Arriving early at training events and assisting with setup, that is so golden because a lot of work goes into putting these exercises together that we put on all the time, like the one Patrick just put on in Van Nuys. A lot of work goes into that, and it's like a lot. Everybody shows up ready to like go in and do their thing and leave, but people had to set it up. They had to secure the rooms. They had to move all the equipment, be there ready to help in that area. Be an active participant, demonstrate your leadership level skills, offer suggestions instead of complaining. We do hear a lot of complaining sometimes, and you got to remember. In fact, somebody I worked for when I first started working at CBS 33 years ago, one of the greatest minds in advertising looked at me one day, and I came in with some problem that I was all fretting about, and she says, "Hey, you're telling me the problem. What's the solution?" And she always said to me, long, way back then, always walk into my office. If you got a problem, tell me what the problem is, but come with a solution. Same here. So keep that in mind. And by demonstrating skills listed above, you become visible and valuable. This is key because I'm sure Christy, talked to each of you about what call out is and asked if you want to be a part of it. The coordinators, Christy, Carl, myself, Patrick, along with our battalion coordinators, we put together the lists of people who go into the next call out training. So we need to know who you are. We need to know your active level. We need to know those things about you because we're the ones submitting those lists. And in the past, we have had people come onto the call out team who it's like, my God, where'd they come from? We've streamlined that. So make sure that you are visible, valuable, and known to us. And through being part of your neighborhood team, you get to know the area team members, many of whom are call out. So you get to know those people, talk to those people. Also, your area team members are people as if you become a call out member, those are people you may be working with at events such as outreach and everything like that. So it's good for you to know the team members in your area, call out or otherwise. Again, getting to know your area battalion coordinators and bureau coordinators. The knowledge you gain from basic neighborhood operations will benefit you later in call out. I've said that leading up to all the time we've been doing this particular presentation. And here's a good one. If you are not active on the neighborhood level, how do you know how to pitch the CERT program when you're manning or staffing an outreach table at some park or some event someplace and people are asking you, hey, what's all that CERT about? What's it about? What's in it for me? If you've never been out there to do it, you can't really say. But what you might do is what I've seen people do is put out complete bad information of what they think CERT is because they're trying to fill in the gaps. And one piece of misinformation they put out is they start talking about call out all right off the top. And that's not what the CERT program is. So keep in mind all these little talking points. And if you're not doing them, do them. And if you're doing them, keep doing them because pitching the program through outreach and doing all these area exercises, it keeps your skills sharp. One of the things I want to talk about on the community team level is outreach. It's a very big thing. As you can see through these photographs here, this is a outreach booth, which was at our LAPD Wilshire Division open house a few weeks ago. We had a couple of our members out there. In the picture on the right, the gentleman wearing the LAFD hat is Ben Skirker from our South Bureau team. He's a call-out member. And the gentleman doing the demonstration of the hands only call out is one of our neighborhood team members, Freddie, who I believe is here tonight. And he's one of our biggest and most active members. This is a guy I would take any day on our call out team. He qualifies. And you see what he's doing. If you look at that table, you're talking about various skills you need, like the fire extinguishers, the electrical panels, and the hands only CPR. This is stuff you need to be able to pitch when you are out there on your with your neighborhood team and with your call out team, which I'll tie together shortly. Ask yourself a basic question, folks. Are you a team player? The one thing you have to understand about CERT, and you really get that by working with your neighborhood teams, is that you work with a lot of different people from a lot of different walks of life. So you have to kind of adjust to that. Some people have different modes of thinking, and some people are quirky and all that kind of stuff. You get used to that. And if you can't get used to that, you have to start asking yourself a question if this is really where you want to be. Because when you're working a disaster, you're going to have a lot of different people that you have to pivot and adjust to. And that includes people on the call out team as well. Know your coordinator and expressed interest. If you've done everything that we showed on the past slides, approach that coordinator, like me, and say, hey, I'd like to be a part of the call out team, and we'll have that discussion, which is the discussion we're having tonight, by the way. So know and express interest so we can talk further on that. Now, once you're through that, and once we've submitted the list of people to the captain, when he or she is asked for it, you will be run through a training program. First by the LAFD. And this is an image of one of those training sessions that we take from time to time. You folks will be run through the entire process of what it means to be on call out. So you will run through this process, which is actually a full day's training. It's still a full day's training, Carl, right?
Yep, it certainly is. Sometimes 2 days.
Yeah. So you'll be run through it. You'll be given a basic idea of what's going on with call out, but I will tell you, tonight's session is a great idea to give you an idea of what you're walking to when you show up in this session. You guys and the other classes before you, Mark Lear's class, some of the other classes before us, they got all this great information before they got in. When I got into it, I was just sitting there saying, now, what is that? Can you say that one more time? You're going to be much more on par with what's being talked about and not so lost. You will be put through a background check by the Los Angeles City Personnel Department. The reason you are being put through that background check is because, unlike your members on the neighborhood team, you are actually being given access to a lot of stuff, like fire stations and facilities, vehicles. You're being given access to information. You're being given access to a lot of different things that the general public and even your CERT colleagues on the neighborhood level are not being given access to. Therefore, the LA City Fire Department and the City of Los Angeles in general needs to know who you are and where you come from. Also, you are also dealing with the public on a real regular basis. So we have to make sure that, if there's anything in your history, criminal, otherwise, or whatever, that it comes up and that those issues are dealt with one way or another. If any of you folks here, and I doubt anybody has any issues like that, but if you do, let's say you do have something in your history, once you start going through the process, let our captain know before you get to that point where you're taking the background check. And even if you think something might not come up, and it might, let the captains know so they don't have to come back to you and say, well, we ran you through this whole process and this thing came up. What's that about? Be upfront with it, deal with it early. But for the most part, you guys are going to be fine. But this background check is just to make sure that everybody on this team is above board. During the time that you guys are going through training and waiting for your background checks and all of that to come through, we have built in a mechanism of peer-to-peer training. What you saw a couple slides back is LAFD training, where you saw us sitting in the classroom and you couldn't see our captain, but you could see his torso. But he was giving us the LAFD training. What we do during the time you're waiting, and there is a period of time between when you take the training class with the LAFD to the time you're actually pushed through background checks to the time you're sworn in. Mark Lear, you out there?
Yes, Chief.
How many months was it until you got sworn in?
I'm going to say it was like almost 4 months.
Yeah, that sounds about right. So you guys are going to have a period of time where you're waiting. What we do not believe in is letting you just sit and wait. What we're going to do is we're going to take you through what we call peer-to-peer training with the blessing of our captains. We do nothing without letting them know. And sometimes they participate in this as well. But we show you everything there is to know about call-out training. We even show you how to run an outreach booth. And that is a real art in itself. What you see here in these two photographs is you see Carl on the right side talking about wires down, which is a duty that we handle. We could be handling wires down duty like on a night like this, where you have wind and rain, which are bringing down power lines. So he's demonstrating for the entire group how you handle that, along with Terrence Gomes. And Terrence is showing some of our members how to do the vehicle inspection sheet. These are just a couple of things we talk about in our peer-to-peer training. And our peer-to-peer training is generally continuous throughout your time here because we're always working to keep our skills sharp and adding more stuff. So Mark Lear and that group can attest that they came several times on Sunday mornings over the course of the year and got different trainings, which helped them acclimate much quicker when they got sworn in. Chapter 2, what we do on call-out deployments. This is the part you guys been waiting for. All right, now, here's what we do. You can see in a couple of the photos above, we've got a couple of examples here, which I'll talk about a little bit more. On the right side, we work the City of Los Angeles Marathon every year. And you can see Carl way over there on the left side. He's standing right there with his little mask on. And Christy on the other side of him. We work the City of Los Angeles Marathon at the finish line. And we assist with bringing in runners. But also, we are very, very good because our call-out people have great skills of working with medical emergencies as they pop up. This particular year, I won't go too deep into it, but I'll give you the main bullet points. This particular year that this photograph was taken, a woman came in after running the marathon, and she sat down at one of the booths to get a massage or something like that from the sports therapist. The woman went into cardiac arrest, and the staff at the booth did not recognize that. They were actually pretty dumbfounded by what was happening. They didn't know something, knew something was off, but they just didn't know. Carl on the left and May Brado over there on the far right, along with Christy and some of the other guys, they went over there and took command of that situation. They are medically trained people, by the way. They have the medical skills for that. And they actually got this woman's back just enough for her to be transported to the hospital, but unfortunately she died. Though she died, their actions that day did give her a chance at life, a second chance at life. It's just that she wasn't able to make it. But believe me, everybody, the LAFD, the marathon itself, they were very amazed. They were very amazed and appreciative of what our people could do. So that's one thing. On the right, on this left side, where you see the firefighters coming up, that is us working a 8-hour scene. I know it because I was there. We worked an 8-hour fire in South LA. There were like over 100 firefighters, and we did hydration, and we handled meal service over the course of 8 hours working that incident. Those are just two things that we do. Moving on. I'll tell you what we're not. We're not Ricky Rescue. We are not, as much as we'd like to think, whatever, we're not going to get that big piece of action where some captain looks around at you and says, "Hey, I want you to take a 1-inch line inside that building and go fight that fire in there." It's never going to happen. What we are is we are a logistics and support operations group. And the reason why I kind of said that is because we get a lot of people who want to be on the team, and they want to be on the team for all kinds of reasons because they think their next job is going to be firefighter. I had one guy say, "I want to be a backup EMT for the city." And I don't know where he got that idea from, and so many other things. So what you are not Ricky Rescue or anything like that. And you generally won't be deployed in that role. So don't even think about it. Just saying. The idea here, what Carl and I and the rest are trying to do is manage your expectations. Moving on. Just to give you an idea of how busy we can be. These are stats from the year 2020, the height of COVID. Let me set the scene for you. At the height of COVID, we know what was going on. Everybody was at home. Everybody was wearing masks. Everybody was worried about getting the Rona. So a lot of things got really curtailed. Everything got curtailed. CERT got shut down. We didn't do any neighborhood trainings or anything like that during that period of time. Though I must say we were very clever and we used Zoom and everything. Patrick used Zoom to keep those operations online. But our call out operation was shut down for about, I want to say about a month after March 2020 or whatever it was. But we did come back because the city needed us. But the city did it like this. Any member who was 60 years old and over was sidelined. So that only left members who were 59 and younger left to run calls. And among that group, there were members who said, "You know what? I don't understand this Rona thing, and I don't want to catch it and bring it home to my family, so I'm not going to do it." So we lost a few more members. And guess what? They had that right. But for those of us who stayed on, I was one of them. For those of us who stayed on, let's see what we got here. This was what our life looked like from July 2020 through December 2020. And this is only looking at firefighter rehab hydration operations only. The number of times we were called out during that time or were requested, 64 times. We completed 59 of those requests. The number of hours we tallied, we kind of said each call out was kind of an average of 5 hours. 295 hours in the field. And the number of calls that we had to give back, obviously, if you do the math, was 5. And here's the beauty. The available number of call out members during that time, approximately 15. 15 of us running all those calls and day and night and all that kind of stuff. That was how dedicated we were. And that's not counting other things. There were other duties that we had that we worked on, but this was incredible. So those year 2020 LAFD CERT call out team, height of the COVID epidemic. So here's what we do. Does this look slightly familiar to you folks? Community outreach. You saw a slide about so many slides back where there was community outreach going on. Well, this is community outreach looking at it from the other side. When you guys come to call out, you guys will continue to do this kind of community outreach in the neighborhood. These images come from May's Fleet Week down in San Pedro, down in Battalion 6. We were there for 3 days. And we did a lot of outreach with the public. We did a lot of outreach with the military who was there, and so on. But this is different when you're on the call out side, because you're going to be put in a position where you are now managing the operation, meaning that you will be working with your neighborhood CERT members that you can get to call out to these events, and even your fellow CERT call out members. And what you need to understand, the reason why you need to be familiar with doing community outreach and what CERT is because you're managing the message that's going out there. The city mandated it. They mandated in 2019 that every outreach booth that was considered LAFD CERT, meaning an LAFD backed CERT operation, had to have a call out person with it, because that call out person, being knowledgeable, we're assuming you're knowledgeable, would make sure that the message being put out by everybody at that table would be accurate. And I will tell you, having worked many a table myself, I have had to step in and kind of correct some inaccuracies that sometimes our people put out there. I would not be in a position to know what those accuracies were if I never participated. So you're there to kind of be a watchdog, to be a manager, and to be a mentor as well. So what you see in these photographs right here from Fleet Week, Will Gossett, who is from the last class with Mark Lear, he worked with me. He worked with me on a few days of Fleet Week down in the harbor. We are actually doing a demonstration of a patient carry. And that particular showcase we did was very popular. There are other photographs of the military coming in, and we actually showed them how to do a patient carry. I had the feeling that they already knew, but we talked them through it. So we had to know our stuff, because I guarantee you, if we didn't, they would have known. And you can see Will on the right side demonstrating electricity cutoff along with other utility cutoff. The gentleman is blocking out our gas meter, and just out of sight is a water meter. So these are the things you handle in a call out. And guess what? This is something you bring up from the neighborhood level. One of those things. The bread and butter of call out is firefighter hydration and rehab, as Carl said earlier. This is where it all started. And this is what we do on a very regular basis. We get out, and whenever the guys are working at a major incident or an incident, whenever they call us, whether it's small or big or whatever it is, we show up and we make sure that they're all hydrated out there. This may sound like it's not the greatest duty in the world. It probably is one of the most satisfying pieces of duty you can do, because the job that you're doing, like Jackie is over on the right side, handing that guy a Gatorade. I can tell you, on the day this picture was taken, because I was there, the day this picture was taken, it was 93 degrees. And this firefighter, who was working a structure fire just across Sunset and Gower, he came up to us, and he was a little noodly legged. And so we gave that to him, and he was ever so thankful. And all of the fire crews who were there were ever so thankful for our role there. Again, if this had been a larger incident, we would have set up tables. We would have set up cooling tents. And what we do out there is we keep an eye on the firefighters as well. Because if we see somebody who's coming out noodly legged, as I like to say, we might look around and say to the nearest captain or the nearest chief, saying, hey, that member of the department doesn't look too good. Maybe you can take a look at him, or we can get him over to our little tent, get his core temperature cooled down, and get paramedics on him. So we serve a greater purpose out there for situational awareness and different things like that. This is one of the most physical jobs we do. And this is what you need to know. This is very critical, is that if you are not able to lift, what is it, like about 25 pounds, Carl?
No, it's with ice, it's 30 to 35 pounds. Sometimes more. Depends what's in it.
Yeah, but in general, if you're not able to lift like just like a pack of that water or something like that, that's about 25. But as Carl said, once you put ice in those coolers right there, it gets real heavy real fast.
Well, you can fit 2.5 cases of water in there, so
Hmm.
just anybody who buys bottled water at the grocery store knows how heavy just a 24 pack of water is.
Hmm.
So you multiply that by 2.5 plus the ice in the water, you're up around 30 to 35 pounds.
And the thing is that the environments you're in are not always going to be optimal. What you see here in these two photos are flat streets, flat city streets, but we've pulled them up hills. We've pulled them over the hoses, which is really hard sometimes. We've pulled them up. It's 93 degrees. We've pulled them, and it's raining ash out of the air, and your breathing's kind of wacky because you got a mask on, and you're trying to keep your air clean and everything like that. My thing about this is that this is the one thing that a lot of people like to become a part of, and they will almost rabidly do anything they can to be on this because you're riding on a fire department vehicle or you're driving that vehicle or whatever, and you're out on scene with the firefighters. You guys have to be realistic with yourself. If you cannot lift comfortably that case of water, or you can't pull uphill without, nearly falling out, or you have bad knees, or whatever it is, you got to rethink if you want to be a part of this duty. There's a lot of other things that you can do in call out. It doesn't have to be this. I have seen members, and God love them, great hearts. They want to get out there. They want to be part of the team and everything like that. And they will nearly injure themselves or injure themselves doing something. And here's the thing I tell you: if you do that out in the field, it puts the whole program in the spotlight because the first question somebody upstairs asks is, should we be putting these volunteers out here? Are we putting them in danger? And it's just because somebody is not thinking or using common sense. So think about that. Firefighter hydration and rehab is extremely physically demanding. It can be many times, especially if the conditions are harsh, like extreme heat or fire and environmental conditions, unlevel ground, everything. Think about that. This is the bread and butter of what we do, but think about if you should be doing that. Weather, wires down duty. So glad we're talking about that on a rainy night. On the photograph on the left side that you're looking at, you see that little smoke screen, that little smoke thingy coming up from the ground there? That's not steam. That's a wire laying in the street, zizzing because it's live. We are quite often asked to come out and do wires down duty because prior to our arrival, it's usually an engine company or a rescue ambulance or whatever fire department resource they have that is there. And when they get there, they are stuck there until the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power comes. That takes that resource out of service. So if there's somebody 2 blocks over having a coronary, they can't go over and help them out because you leave this scene, you go over to help them out, somebody's walked through there and turned into a giant charcoal briquette. So what we do is they call us. They will ask Metro. They will say, Metro, is there a CERT team available? And they will check it out with us. And if we have staffing and everything like that, we will get a team out there. And what you see is a team out here. That is, with his back to us, is David Greenwald, who was in the last class. And I believe he is with John Gilbert and Jeff Hole, who are two of our master veterans out there. And they are working this particular wires down situation. I know it because I dispatched them out there. So I know where the folks go. So that's one thing. And this other duty that you see on the right side, this is actually traffic duty. And actually, this was the result of a power outage up in Hollywood, up in 35's area. And this was at the height of COVID. I know it because I was there. You're starting to get the feeling that a lot of these things I know about intimately. But I worked with Terrence that day, and we worked 8 hours directing traffic. That is actually Vermont Avenue. That is actually Vermont Avenue, just across Virgil. And we spent 8 hours out there directing traffic and just making sure things went well. And at just about, I think it was around 11 o'clock, we got out there about 2 and left about 11. The Department of Water and Power showed up that day. And that day it was really, really hot. It was 90 degrees, and it messes with our electric infrastructure. So those are a couple of the things we do outside of firefighter hydration and things I've shown you so far. Area event operations, something we have become very good at. Very good at. We work some of the biggest events in the city. On the left side, we have one event, the Mid-City Arts and Music Festival. We worked that for several years. You can see our team there. And on the right side, though, is the grandmama of operations here in the city. That is the Taste of Soul in the Crenshaw district. That particular event brings in $450,000 to $500,000. $500,000. I wish I had $500,000. 450 to 500,000 attendees in one day, who are spread over a 1 mile area on Crenshaw Boulevard between Obama and Stocker. It is one of the hardest events we work. In fact, this year, we had it really tough. Carl, you want to do a quick breakdown of what we had to deal with?
Oh, well, it's the usual. You have thousands and thousands of people in one place. There's a lot of food. There's alcohol being served. There's the smell of marijuana occasionally drifting by. And when you get that many people in one place, and you need to get through to pick up a patient that one of our CERT members might have noticed go down. They may have fallen down. They might be dehydrated. Dehydration is a big problem at these events. The morning was very calm. And just let me say something about this picture. You might wonder, the one on the right, why are they taking the picture when it's getting dark at night? Well, that picture was taken when the sun was coming up. So our day at this event starts at 5:30 a.m. with a briefing, and then we go out and we get everything set up. So anyway, everything was calm. The thing opens at 10 o'clock. So 12:30 comes around. No big thing. Not a lot of patients. About 10 minutes to 1, the patient load exploded. We were getting calls. The radio system was getting overloaded with calls. We were having trouble keeping up with it. It's a very noisy environment also. So when we're trying to talk on our radios or hear a dispatch from our command post, which was over at Fire Station 94, and which we were manning the communications for the fire department as well, it just went crazy. We had so many patients. We have 5 med tents, each operated by a hospital group or a doctor's group, and we have a main medical, which is from Kaiser. That's always the busiest. And patients that can't be treated properly at the 4 other stations, we had to pick them up and bring them over to main medical. So we're on these little golf carts, and with this little toot horn on it, trying to get, they're like toot toot toot, not even a golf cart sound, and trying to get through the crowd. And I mean, people are polite and they move out of your way, but they get involved in what they're doing. They're talking to their friends, and they don't even hear you. So it's a challenge. Fortunately, we didn't run anybody over. There were no toes damaged, but we had a lot of patients, and that went on for 3 hours. Then, as the weather cooled back down, because again, it got a little warm, and that's when you start getting the dehydration. But you get diabetics, low blood pressure, the gamut of minor activities. People falling down, they land on their nose. You got to help them, stop the bleeding. Cuts and scrapes always happen a little bit, but those are minor. But we have to treat the dehydrations and those things seriously, because those are a health hazard. So about 3 hours went by, and finally it started to calm down. But it's It's tough to work, but it's a lot of fun, and the food is great. Lots of good barbecue, lots of lovely people out there, um, and good music if you don't go deaf because of the volume. Um, and it's a long day, but at the end of the day, you go, hey, we did good. We took care of people that were injured or were feeling ill. We got them they provided the service that they needed. We did run out of ambulances at one point because we had so many patients. And so we used up the private ambulances, of which I think we had three, and all the LAFD ambulances in the area, transporting people with medium to minor injuries, but they had to be run to a hospital for stitches and for to get their hydration back up, or blood pressure. Low blood pressure is a problem. They need the proper medication. So it's a long day, but at the end of the day, you go, we did good, and we always do good at this thing. That's why they keep inviting us back. And we're an integral part of the entire medical response. We determine, along with the physicians, when they need to transport a patient. We make the call to the command post. We track it. We make sure the patient is in the right place, packers up and ready to hand off to fire, and away they go. So again, there's not enough firefighters to spare to fully staff this. So without us, it would be problematic for the department. So we play a big role in this, but it's really a great event.
We were originally brought into this several years ago to handle communications for each of our med tents, but very quickly, even in that first year, our role in it became much more integral. And in fact, what's really funny in all these years is that one of our main medical tents, Med Tent One, always requests CERT and a particular group of people that they have become very used to very used working with. I can't talk tonight. I haven't had dinner.
That happens. Yeah, it also happens at Kaiser. When we
Mhm,
walk up, it's just usually the same doctors
mhm,
here from Kaiser, and it probably is again also
mhm.
from the other med tents. So the relationship is there, and they trust us because they've seen how we perform,
And
which
I
is
will,
very
and I
important.
and I will tell you that first year there was a little bit of resistance to having us work with them because they said, "Who are these people? Who are these people in the green vests?" And they had what? What? But after that first year, they were all believers. And every year, as Carl said, we have a seat at that planning table. Carl and I usually handle that part of it. We'll start the meetings in April along with the in August with the captain, and it goes all the way up until October. Our people are integrated into those first aid tents, as Carl said. We have them based at the incident command post. They are, as Carl said, they are so integral. In addition to the medical, we handle logistics, movement of people and goods up and down the route, and we're part of the overall situational awareness. I That day for us is a 15-hour day that starts at 5 in the morning. I have a particular post that I post on Facebook every year when I get up at 4 a.m. and I say, why do I put myself through this misery? Because I really ask myself some of that because it's a hard day, but at the end of the day, you're very satisfied with what you've done and so many accolades. This is the Taste of Soul, among all the other things we do, is our biggest event of the year. And that takes place second week of October.
And if you get to know Chin, you'll know that not a lot rattles him. But usually by 9 o'clock in the morning at this event, I have to pull him aside and talk him down. Because, of course, the best laid plans of mice and men. Nothing goes the way you expect.
Nope.
They can't find the keys to the golf carts. Who knows? There's no water in the cooling fans. Um,
Ooh,
so we're running around with our heads cut off, just getting
yep.
it off the ground, putting the water out, putting the ice out, delivering people to their med tent. So it does get a little stressful, and
It does.
I guess you and I both get a little stressed out because we're in the planning, uh,
Yeah.
in the
It's
planning meetings, and everything sounds like it's going to go perfect, and then it
it
all
never does.
fell for a while, but it all comes back together by 10 o'clock by opening. So never a word.
And many of the people you see in this photograph, many of them, I'd say about half of them, have been there since the first time we worked this. So it is something we look forward to every year. It is, and actually, in Mark Lear's class case, they were all working it. They were working it alongside of us, and they all did a fantastic job out there. They knew what they were walking into because, again, we talked them through it and said, "Hey, here's what you're going to see." We have planning meetings ahead of the actual event itself and say, "Hey, here's your role. Here's where you're going to be. Here's what you're going to see and what you're going to experience." So, it's a
And Mark
great.
Lear was riding with me on my golf cart. And
Mm-hmm.
it's a tip: if you're kind of small, you want somebody the size of Mark Lear because he could just snatch up a fully loaded ice bin right off the rig and just and manhandle it, and where otherwise it would be two of us handling it. But you get a nice young small big guy, and Mark was a pleasure to work with.
Well,
He's
that's
one
the only reason why they keep me around is I lift the small things.
I love it, Mark
No,
Lear.
we
You
will keep you around for a lot of reasons. We had good days that day. You and I.
amen to that. And moving on, another big thing that we handle in the summertime, in the days leading up to and a little bit past July 4th, is Summer Fire Patrol. This is huge, especially for you guys coming out of the valley. What we do is we staff up, and in all of our units, in our rescue ambulances, in our Suburbans, we get everybody patrolling a particular area of the city. Those particular areas have been defined by the LA City Fire Department. In the valley, well, it's just like anything in the valley. Anything in the valley you like, that's just going to fly up. So that's like everything. But in Central Bureau, we look at Debs Park. We didn't patrol up there this past year because the chief didn't feel like he needed it. But we ended up responding to a call over there for a brush fire, strangely enough. Here in South Bureau, we patrol Baldwin Hills Estates, which includes Baldwin Hills, which had a devastatingly deadly fire in 1985. I remember it growing up here. We also have the Baldwin Hills oil fields, and we also have Kenny Hahn State Recreation Area that we patrol here in South Bureau. West Bureau, Carl, is it mostly the area around UCLA?
Well, we've got everything from we've got Hollywood, so you've got the Hollywood Hills, which of course is a lot of canyons up there. And then you jump over West Hollywood and get back into the city again, and you've got Upper Westwood, Beverly Hills. Remember that we do mutual aid, so if it's above Beverly Hills, we're Homeby Hills and all that. We're going to be in there also.
Mm-hmm.
And so you go across from Westwood to Upper Brentwood, Mandeville Canyon. You got some very bad canyons up there, and then all the way out the Palisades, all the way to the ocean. So and that you have the state park, big state park at the western end of Sunset Boulevard. So it's a big area, and just to tell you a statistic, Los Angeles is the number one on the list, being the worst at risk for wildfire in the entire country. The county of LA is the worst place in the whole country when it comes to wildfire. So it's a lot of area. 200. Let's see, the county is 400 square miles, but the city is 220 square miles of area. 60% of it is at risk. So
And it really is, and that's why we put these fire patrols out here. We have a few the bullet points of what we do out here. One, we are eyes in those high burn areas. Many times our crews have come across small brush fires in their infancy, and just us being able to get on the radio to Metro and say, Metro, respond an engine company up here to Baldwin Hills Estates off of Don Miguel. We have headed off a lot of what could have been very bad fires, whether it's Baldwin Hills, the Valley, whether it's the Hollywood Hills or whatever. That's one. Two, we are a visual deterrent to bad guys and people who are of ignorance, maybe in these dry areas lighting off fireworks. you know what LA looks like on July 4th. It looks like Beirut. So with us being out there, and we are out a little bit later on July 4th, we tend to be a little bit more of a deterrent of getting people to say, there are some people you just can't reach, by the way, who will just do it anyway. But a lot of people will say, you know what, we got these guys creeping around here, and maybe this is not such a good idea. Our job is not to go out and confront. That's one thing I want to put out there right now. Our guys don't jump out of the rig and say, hey, bad guy, or hey, you, or whatever it is. We don't do that. If we do need that, we'll radio it into Metro or call the chief and get the police down there or the fire department, and they will handle that leg of the job. So we are a visual deterrent. And if we happen to be out there and we do see small spot fires or something like that, each of our vehicles do have extinguishers on them. We are very much welcome to kind of put those spot fires out. We don't have to sit there and just like, hey, well, I'm going to watch it burn until the fire department gets there. If it's small enough, we can put it out with our extinguishers. And by the way, knowing that comes from your basic CERT training of what size fire are you able to effectively extinguish. Again, your skills from the neighborhood coming into play in call out. Just saying.
All right,
We
and
do.
let's point something out. How do we communicate with the fire department? You may have seen that at one point there was a radio microphone on my shoulder. We use the LAFD 800 megahertz radios, which are in the rig, and we carry handheld radios running around the field.
Mhm.
If you're not familiar with radio communications at all, you haven't ever used a walkie-talkie when you were a little boy or a little girl, or any time, Patrick has classes in radio communications,
Mhm.
drills with the neighborhood team program, talking about radio communications. We're not going to hand you an LAFD radio unless we know you are 1,000% capable of knowing the protocols for radio and having the confidence to get on the radio and talk to dispatch down at the EOC or at the dispatch downtown. The worst thing that could happen is we sound like morons on the radio, because you have to remember, when you're on the radio on fire department radio, it's not you and another guy or another girl like it is with a cell phone. 1,500 people could hear you, because that's how many, or actually 1,000 firefighters are on duty, and it's broadcast to every radio in the city. So if they're on the same channel as you, they're going to hear you. So got to be quality on the radio. So, but there's plenty of opportunity for you to get that kind of training.
And that's a very good point that Carl brings up, is like one of the things you're practicing in the neighborhood level is radio usage, FRS radio. You start there, and if you can be proficient at least at that level, you can pick up doing the LA City radio, because I'll go one better and tell you, if you end up coming on the radio to Metro and you sound like a moron, they will call the captain in a hot minute and say, get these people off my radio.
And then they're going to call me or Chin and give us help. So, yeah. So to cover our butts, please behave.
Well, yeah. And we've gotten that call. We have gotten that call too, in the middle of the day, of some captain who I've never met yelling in my ear. So just saying, again, your skills from the neighborhood coming into play here in call out. Just saying. Great point, Carl.
All right.
We do have special duty operations, which we handle as well. The images you see here come from about a year ago at this time. That was the funeral of a firefighter who was stationed down in the harbor. Very popular firefighter who died after a long illness, and they had a very special service for him. And so, as part of the logistics, we were called, and of course, we responded down there. I know I was there. That's my theme for the night. I know I was there. We responded, and we handled everything that morning, from making sure that parking operations went well at the church, making sure that dignitaries from the department and local government were escorted inside, seated properly. We made sure on the outside that traffic, regular traffic and traffic coming into the area was managed. And after the main service, we went up to the cemetery ahead of everybody, and we set up a complete operation to get everybody from the hearse that was coming to bring the firefighter to his final resting place to every visitor to make sure that they got to the exact site without getting lost. For anybody who's been in the cemetery, you know you can get lost in 2 seconds.
Uh-huh.
So in addition to that, we also worked operations at the repass. There are a lot of special operations. This is just one thing. Other special operations include assistance at the LAFD Historical Society Museum, which you see on the left. That was during Fire Service Day. And we were asked by the museum to come down and assist with some operations inside the museum, and we did. That woman who is actually standing out front and her young son, that is the widow of Frank Borden and the son of Frank Borden. Now, if you were paying attention in your basic class, you know that Frank Borden, Chief Frank Borden, founded the CERT program that you and I both know and love. Other special duty operations we handle, we are logistics at something called the badge ceremony, the promotion ceremonies that take place, where firefighters move up and get get promoted to new ranks and all that kind of stuff. You see Armona Garrett standing with Chief Kristen Crowley, who that day was in the promotion ceremony, if I remember correctly. She got her badge at some point. So we're there for those kind of special duty operations, which are a lot of fun. A lot of fun. So there you go.
And that lady, that chief lady, she loves us. So
She is a big fan.
she's a big fan of CERT, so we get a lot of support from her office.
And I will tell you, she will come to every event and always make herself known, taking pictures with us and everything like that. That is how much of a fan she is. And on the business side, she will call for operations and different things like that. So we aims to please, and we've done it well. Other things we do: base camp and large fire staging operations. When you have a big fire someplace, like let's say when at least one of these pictures was taken, we had a big fire up in the Palisades. We had a big fire up in the Palisades, and the picture on the right, that was us staged out at Will Rogers State Beach. And if you notice, we were out there. LA City was there. It had its presence out there along with LA County, Ventura County, Santa Monica, and some other fire departments whom I can't even think of right now. And we handled the logistics of setting up that base camp, some aspects of it. And also when it came to actual operations, we did not discriminate based on the fire department. If county guy came up and he needed something, we didn't say, "Your county, we can't help you." We helped everybody that day.
Well, we did, sometimes just to give them a hard time, but we always take care. And we take care of all the city people, LAFD, LAPD, Highway Patrol, anybody that's badged, we take care of. If it's the guy from sanitation that comes to pick up the trash, we take care of him, because if you work for the city, you're part of the team.
And you stole my thunder on that one, because I was going to say it's like street maintenance comes up in there, Bureau of Street Lighting, whomever. We will take care of them. In some cases, throughout our firefighter hydration operations, when we're working in neighborhoods or whatever, we will also help residents as well. That is one thing I wanted to throw in as a quick note. But we work these base camps and large fire staging operations. This particular one on the right went for 8 days. So we had people going out to Will Rogers State Beach for 8 days, working from like 5:30 in the morning until literally 9 at night.
In 2 shifts.
In shifts. And when I do the scheduling, because that's what I kind of do here as well, I handle the scheduling and the dispatch. We break it out into shifts. On the right side, this was a fire. This was Saddle Ridge, Carl. You remember that? Carl and I were at home one night. It was about 11:35. We were both with our significant others and wives and all that kind of stuff. And we knew the call was coming. Got a call from the captain, and we left our homes at 11:35 at night and did not get relieved until 2 o'clock the following afternoon. I will tell you that I know, just me, I know what 700 bagels look like.
Yeah, that was part of our assignment, was to go pick up 700 bagels. We've gone out and picked up 200 In-N-Out burgers and fries. Bagels. The bagels were at with the other fire out in the valley also.
Yeah, it was. But I will tell you, I understand that I haven't had a bagel since, and I haven't had an In-N-Out since. You see that much, it's kind of like overwhelming. But
He's lying about that because
yeah, I am lying about that. But we worked out there. We worked out there. We got out there at 11:35, or we left at 11:35, made it out to the base camp. We had another unit, 84, who was on the other side, but we handled setting up the base station, the large base camp. We handled overnight operations at 4:30 in the morning. We were told to go to this particular place to get 700 bagels and coffee and everything like that. We worked throughout the day on other logistics, and then we had a team come in and relieve us. And that Saddle Ridge was a number of days.
Carl. And then on subsequent days, we delivered thousands of meals out into the lunch and dinner out into the field to the firefighters, or we served the meals in the base camp for hundreds and hundreds of firefighters.
And in some cases, what you don't see here is that we're sometimes deployed as security in neighborhoods that are burned out, in terms of just allowing people in, based on the fire department's instructions. We had one fire, I think it was Skirball or something like that, where they had a whole neighborhood that was burned out, and they deployed our folks up there, and they said, here's who you are going to expect to come up. Make sure you escort them in, escort them out, and make sure the area is secure. So those are some things that happen in this large base camp operations thing we do. Another thing we do, which is good for people who may not have the physical prowess or even, all the unlimited time or whatever it is something called the Alert Wildfire Camera. This is a team headed up by John Gilbert, who is seen facing us there. This picture was taken during COVID, so we can't see his fantastic face, and neither can we see the fantastic faces of the rest of the team. Holy mackerel. But what they do is there are a network of cameras throughout Southern California that watch key areas of the city. And our people are deployed to certain cameras based on what the LAFD tells them. And they monitor those cameras. If you see John, he's monitoring a series of cameras right there on his computer. We have access to those cameras. In some case, we do have movement access where we can kind of reposition the camera. But this is definitely something that, if you're not interested in any of the other stuff out there, this is something you can do. And a lot of those guys really enjoy themselves doing it. On high fire days is when we find that the crew gets activated. And what John and I will do, since I do kind of the master scheduling, we will make sure that we work together. So if somebody wants to work Alert Wildfire, excuse me, we make sure that we're not shortchanging our infield operations as well. But this is really great, and they've gotten a lot of kudos because they have actually seen fires at their infancy, and they will let the fire department know. And sometimes they'll even call over and say, hey, you might want to get the team going. There's a big fire going. And sometimes I've gotten the heads up on a fire, and we've got a team rolling to the station. So that is definitely something you can be a part of. And one of the final things that we do is what is called fire station security. People always like, oh man, that's babysitting a building. Well, the concept behind fire station security is that Sometimes you have malfunctions at a station, like those apparatus bay doors you see over there, those big garage doors. Sometimes they get stuck or they fall off the track. What happens is because you cannot secure the station, the company can't leave, or they have to leave a piece of apparatus and people behind. So somehow, some way, the community is getting shortchanged. So what they do is when they have that problem, they get on the phone to our captain. Captain gets on the phone to me. I look at the duty roster and I see if we've got people there who can handle fire station security, and we deploy them. Fire station security, yes, to a certain degree, it is babysitting a building. But guess what? What you have done is you have put that entire company back in operation to answer calls. You are also keeping an eye on valuable equipment, personal items, different things, because we live in LA. People like to steal stuff, and they will take advantage of these situations. So you are really a big hero to them. And let me tell you, they fall on their knees when they come back and say, "Oh, thank you. Thank you. We're back in business." And they are really happy because it may seem like a little thing to us, or it may not seem, well, it's like, I don't feel important. I'm just babysitting a building. You better believe you're the most important person. When they see you drive up, they get happy. And many times they feed you. Just saying. So,
And the food's always good at a fire station.
no, I've never had bad food. And here is where our units are stationed. In South Bureau, it's at Los Angeles City Fire Station number 43. That's in the Palms area of Los Angeles, not far from me here in Mid City. Our unit is known as CE 43. It is that unit that Phil Jamtaz is cleaning right there. It's our Suburban. That's the one Suburban that we have in our fleet. CE 59 is Carl's unit over in West Bureau. That's at Los Angeles City Fire Station 59. And if you look in the photograph up here on the right side, that is the new CE 59. That is one of the box ambulances. And the other units, 83 and 84, are box ambulances just like that. CE 83 in Valley Bureau is stationed at Los Angeles City Fire Station 83, which is, I believe, in Encino, and 84 is in Woodland Hills. Those two units are box ambulances. If you notice, the Valley has two units because the Valley is, and I must admit, as much as it pains me, that the Valley is a place where stuff gets broke off real fast. And what I mean is you get fires, you get floods, you get debris flows, you get winds that are crazy. A lot of stuff happens up there. And there is an effort to get maybe a third unit up there, but that effort is still in the planning stages. I just want to mention that as a team, we maintain our vehicles. Just like the firefighters, we do all kinds of basic maintenance, like washing. And you might think saying we wash the vehicles is insignificant, but we have had people come onto this team who when we say, "Hey, we need for you to come out and wash the vehicles with us," we get that little look like, "Me? Wash a vehicle?" And we've had actually people say, "I don't wash vehicles." Then guess what? Here it is. You don't
You're
get
not on
paid.
the team.
Huh?
You're not on the team.
And you don't get to ride.
Yep.
You know, it's most of the time, me, Gilbert, Jeff Hole, Carl, and a few others, we'll do that maintenance work a lot because we really enjoy it. For me, it's just, I'll go by there. It's so close to me. I'll go by on a Friday afternoon and I'll wash it all by myself and do all the vehicle inspection reports and everything. It's a very cathartic thing for me. But you got to maintain it because when these vehicles sit at the fire stations, the crews who work there don't mess around with that. It could have a pound of dust on it and they would like, not our vehicle, because they don't have to and they shouldn't. So we maintain it. FYI. Chapter 3, we're getting close to the end. And actually, I think this is the end. Chapter 3, you've got the look, baby, plus important administrative stuff. What do we mean by you got the look? We are a uniform team. If you look at everybody in these photographs, they are wearing a uniform. They are call out people. This is what call out people look like. Um, you got to remember that the uniform is quite important because we are exposed to the public, we are exposed to the media, we are exposed to fire chiefs, captains, firefighters, and everything like that. The LA City Fire Department is a paramilitary organization, so they have a uniform code, and so do we. And we are expected to observe that when we are in that role. And like I said here, you'll never know who's watching. If this is a screen capture that was sent to me by one of our members, Eric Clark up in the Valley, we back in September, on September 11th, we worked September 11th, the observance of that 22 years later. This showed up on KABC TV Channel 7 because we work a lot of situations, whether it's firefighter hydration, whether it's base camps, whether it's outreach tables, whether it's events like this, observance events, where the media is present. There are dozens of photographers. There are photographers from the LA City Fire Department. There's me who's filling up the newsletter. And there's the general market media. Let me tell you from personal experience, if they see anything wrong in that uniform that shows up in those pictures, sometimes you get a call. Very quick story. I was working in outreach. Actually, it was the year before, Carl. I was working Fleet Week with you guys down there. And there was a picture taken of me. It was before the event started. And everybody who knows me knows I wear Crocs all the time. My better half introduced me to them, and I can't stop wearing them. Usually what I do is when the event kicks off, I'll get into my boots, and then uniform's complete. Somebody took a picture of me, and it got posted to the city's Instagram page. And I looked, and somebody sent me, and I said, "Holy crap!" And I said, "Oh my God!" I said, if I'm lucky, no one in command has seen this picture. 2 hours later, my phone rang, and it is Captain Gates, our former captain, saying, "What do you know about a picture of you? It's on Instagram." And I said, "Oh, you saw that picture, huh?" Just a reminder to everybody. You're being watched every time you are out with the city fire department. And that includes by everybody I've mentioned and more. You also have to be very careful about your actions while you are in that uniform. There are a lot of things you can't do in that uniform, like, drink alcohol on the job or anything like that, because we know, everybody on this call knows that we are volunteers. We're not technically part of the fire department. But guess what? Your neighbors, if you walk up in that uniform with that patch on over there, your neighbors will say, "Oh, you're a firefighter." And I got to tell you, it's like I've done my darndest over the years to say, "Well, no, I'm not a sworn firefighter." And after I've gone through this whole explanation, they just look and say, "Well, thank you for your service."
Right.
And I'm like, and now I just say thank you and move on. But what you have to understand is if you pull something stupid, and guess what? The reason why I say that is because it has happened. If you do something stupid, you're going to find yourself in a world of trouble. And you are going to find that even though you are not technically part of the LA City Fire Department, you will be investigated like you were a part of the LA City Fire Department. Whatever you've done, depending on the degree of it, could get forwarded to the Professional Standards Bureau. That's like the LAFD's version of internal affairs. And they start asking questions real fast. So be aware of what you're doing, whether it's your actions, how you dressed, or whatever, because we live in a world where cameras are everywhere. And just like this picture, I'd have never known about it if Eric hadn't sent it to me. There I am right there, doing that salute thing. Didn't even know they had the camera on me. I knew the cameras were there, but I didn't know they were pointing my way or anybody else's way. A very important aspect as you come into the call out team is to get sworn in as a disaster service worker. For those of you who might have been at the recent refresher and they did that little disaster service worker thing, that does not negate you, doing this swearing in. And for those of you who were there, saw that the group that day, Mark Lear and company, had to be sworn in. That swearing portion is actually very, very important. I learned years ago, and I think, Carl, you remember, they found out from the state of California that LAFD was doing the swearing in wrong.
Uh-huh.
And technically, that actually had an effect if we were out in the field and we got injured and insurance benefits, yada, yada, just because something as simple as a swearing in wasn't done or wasn't done right. Also, it's not done right, too, if you don't have the paperwork on file. So that's something that they're going to run you through when you go through the process.
And you should know that the disaster service worker comes with state insurance, which is not primary insurance. So you can't go giving up your medical insurance, but any expenses that your primary insurance doesn't cover, we're told, we've never seen it happen yet, will be covered by the state plan under the disaster service worker. And remember, that day when you get sworn in, then you're official. So you may have noticed that we do wear on our sleeve, we wear a CERT patch on the right side, but on the left side, we're wearing an LAFD patch. And we went through a lot of hell to make that okay. We kind of did it, and people were grumbling about it, and we said, hey, if we're part of the team, make us part of the team. And eventually people stopped complaining, and we haven't heard any bad words about it since then. But while you're waiting to become part of the call-out team, you may buy the uniform shirt that we wear, but you're not entitled to put that patch on until you're sworn in.
Exactly. And one thing that Carl kind of introduced is the fact that if we abuse that patch, and you're not supposed to actually wear that uniform patch to everything. Not everything that you do in CERT is an LAFD fire department sanctioned event. You have to understand when you're supposed to wear it and when you're not supposed to. There are times for all of us where we're just regular CERTs, regular neighborhood CERTs. Not everything is something where you trot this patch out. That's one thing. But two, if you abuse it, and there are people who have, like Carl said, the department reevaluates and say, you know what? Let's pull that patch off. Everybody take a seam ripper to those shirts and take that patch off.
We do not want that to happen.
Yeah, and it's come close a couple times because people, again, do something stupid. They're out there trying to, guys are in bars like, hey, baby, check me out here, LA City Fire.
Yeah, I had to quit doing that. Yeah, it wasn't good.
Yeah, whatever. But people do that, or they're coming into like the coffee shop saying, "Hey, LA City Fire Department, what kind of freebies you got for me?"
No
or you show up at like a political event or something like that, and let's say you're showing up at your neighbor council person's election thing, and they catch you in the background on the camera, and it's like, that's almost like an endorsement of this particular person because you're there in uniform. You have to be careful about how you wear that uniform. And like we said, the LAFD patch is only worn by call-out team members and coordinators. The reason being is because those people have been background checked. And if they catch you, it makes them easy to catch you. If you're just somebody who took the CERT program, they don't know you from Adam when you've just taken it. They know you took it. They gave you a certificate, but they don't know you. They don't have anything about you. So that's why the patch is very limited to call out team members and coordinators. It's good because it's regulated. It's bad because if you do something stupid, they will find you. Identification cards as well. Identification cards are not issued to every person who takes CERT. And a lot of our neighborhood members get a little chafed at that because they feel like they've, it's like, oh, I should have one. I'm a CERT member. But the reason why they don't have them is because if you issue a card, the issuing agency is saying, I know who you are. I vouch for you. Let's say somebody goes door to door saying, hi, I'm a CERT member. Let me in your house to talk to you. And they're like, oh, it looks official. It's from the LAFD. And you go in there and something bad happens. I'll let your mind figure out what that could be. The city's on the hook because they said, well, he had an ID card, and that's why they don't give it to everybody. But for those of us who do have an identification card, it allows us to get in on the scenes we're working and have access to those other places like fire stations and everything else. And if we go to somebody's house and something bad happens, they do have a way of at least trying to figure out who you are. Just saying. So there you go. This is not quite an update. We're at the next to last slide, but this is not updated. But for those of you out there, if you have not done it, try taking some of the FEMA ICS classes or the incident command classes, incident command system. Every CERT member, neighborhood or otherwise, should take these classes so you are better informed about how ICS works. Because guess what? LA City uses ICS. Guess what? LA City invented ICS. Guess what? The same guy, Frank Borden, we were talking about earlier, it was behind that as well. He invented a lot of stuff, including CERT and ICS and all that kind of stuff, or he was part of those things. Take those things because you will need them as part of call out, especially when you're working base camps like we showed you earlier, or just general hydration operations. You need them in the neighborhood when you're trying to put together your team, because that's how you put together a cohesive team and not a team running around looking crazy all over the place. So think about those things, and we'll get you an updated list of things. There's been so many changes that I didn't feel like messing around with that tonight. And ta-da! Q&A time. Q&A time. And this picture, by the way, was taken on a Sunday morning when Carl, Rion, Jackie Kozak, and I responded to a fire inside of the hotel downtown, the hotel with the elevator on the outside. Why am I not remembering its name? But but that's it. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
No, isn't that the fire where one of the rigs lost the drivetrain and
no, it was at the
Bonaventure?
it was a fire up in there at the God Almighty
Bonaventure?
Bonaventure. Thank you, Patrick. And that was an early morning call. I remember how chafed I was at being awakened at 6:30 in the morning on it. I don't think you were much better, Carl, either.
Are you kidding me? 6:30 is like the middle of the night to me.
Woo! And let's see what we got up in here. I haven't had a chance to see who's checked in yet, but it looks like we got a nice group of people up in here.
And understand there's a lot more that you'll learn. You're going to learn the chain of command. So when you walk up to a firefighter, you know if he's a captain or a captain two or battalion chief or the fire chief. So radio communications, there's a lot more to learn. But we'll be here all night, and Chin doesn't mind talking all night. So there's a lot more to come, but there's nothing that is beyond anybody's capability. So don't be scared.
I'm going to take a message that was sent to me on the chat. It was sent directly to me, but this is a relevant question to everybody. The question asker is asking, which captain do we address? The CERT captain and or another captain about how we know when the background check has started? Trust me, you will know. First of all, you will run through the training that we told you about first. And second, our captain, the CERT captain, will contact each and every one of you and let you know and say, hey, Justin over there, Are you available on Monday morning, the 13th of November, to go down to personnel? You have an appointment at 1 o'clock.
You have to understand that because we're not city employees,
Mhm.
we do not have priority on the slots that are open
Exactly.
for background checks. So that they have a limited number they can do each day, of course. And they've allotted a certain amount to us over time. So if we have 20 people, there's not going to be 20 people in one day to go down there. They dribble them out 4 or 5 a day, so it takes time. So don't be bugging the captains about that. If you have, you can call us, but don't bother the captains about that. They'll let us know, or they'll let you. Actually, they'll let you know directly.
And the captains will let you know, they will let you know in that initial training session. They will say, okay, the next step will be the background check. We will call you when that's happening. We're always in loop. Carl and I are always in loop, and all of the coordinators. And we'll also let you know, hey, background checks are coming. But make sure, guys, this is big. Carl made a great point that we are not given priority over paid city employees, and two, the unit has to cobble together other departments' unused background checks for us. So here's the thing: if you do get a background check, make sure you keep it. You move heaven and earth to keep it. And if you can't keep it, let somebody know immediately. One of the captains know. It's like, hey, I can't make it down on Monday the 13th. I have to work.
And that way he'll give it the slot to somebody else. And then
yes, because guess what? We have had people not show up, and guess what happens when people don't show up? That slot just magically vaporizes. Nobody else gets it. So be considerate of that and keep that in mind. Great question. And and let's see. Here's another question here. Those of us who were at the 7.2 crate drill, that must have been the refresher. With Captain Gross leading us through a swearing in at the LAFD training facility. Are we correctly officially sworn in, or was that a dress rehearsal?
That was official.
Huh?
I'm sure that was official. We don't do dress rehearsals for swearing in.
But here's the second part to that. You are not sworn into the call-out team at this time. You still have to go through your background check. You still have to do some other things. You may actually find yourself resubmitting that paperwork. So that was a little bit of something I thought that would kind of get out there, that people might be thinking that they're sworn in officially, and you're not. Because as I've learned, that some of those swearing ins, I've learned in talking to the department, that swearing in, I think it was good, and it probably went up for DSW, but in many cases it can be for 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 6 hours, whatever.
Oh
Yeah, I had to look it up. It can be a swear-in just for an event, but without the paperwork to make you an actual disaster service worker, you're not a disaster service worker, and all the call-out team members are disaster service workers.
It doesn't usually sequence that way. Usually it's you get your background check, you do the class, you go to background check, you clear that, and then you're sworn in at that point that's a permanent swear in. So this was an unusual situation, I think.
It was indeed. So great
I
questions.
I think it's going to be something that happens because it happened the next day at the Valley Drill as well. Captain Gross had everybody swear, and I think it's just for insurance purposes for the day.
For that day.
Yes.
Yeah, and that is another point.
But he was saying they were handing out certificates of some sort.
No, they handed out certificates to the people who were sworn in, like Mark Lear and the others.
Oh, okay.
But Patrick is very much right, because that event automatically becomes an event that if somebody twists their ankle, they have a little state thingy going. So
doesn't usually happen that way, right?
Yeah, but guys, just go through the process and you'll be fine. Freddie Muse Jr., you've got a question over there.
Yeah, Chief. Good evening. Good evening. Hello, everyone. And thank you so much, Chief Chin and Carl, for the wonderful, informative presentations tonight. You guys are really on the ball. So my question refers to something that I heard through the discussion. So I wanted to know, because I never heard the term CERT service worker. Is that the same as a CERT call-out team member? And I think I just heard Patrick allude to that, saying that all call-out team members were service workers. Is that so?
No.
That's
It's not
disaster
CERT service. It's the Disaster Service Worker Program that is run by the state of California, which gives you insurance coverage to a certain degree, like I explained. It's not CERT service, it's disaster service. And you can become a disaster service worker without being a CERT member. It's a state program. If you're volunteering for any state program, you can become a disaster service worker, so that you're covered.
Oh, okay. So it is different. There's a difference between the two.
It is a difference. Yeah. It is a difference.
Okay.
All right, Brother Freddie.
Thank you, Chief.
I want you on my team, brother.
All right. Sign me up.
You're the man. Again, that guy is one of our most active people, and he's really proven himself over many years of doing this. So when he's ready, I'm here for him. There's a great question down in the chat of from one of our folks down here. Elena, you asked pretty much basically, there are some things you can and can't do. It's like you've got a full-time job, probably got a family and everything like that. A lot of what we talked about tonight sounds like it really does randomly happen, and it does. That's why we say this is a different type of volunteering. But I got something good for you. Just trying to get the finger right there. But I've got something good for you. There are aspects of call out that you can be a part of, that you can plan for. Like you were saying, you don't see yourself working a 15-hour day in the Taste of Soul, and that's fine. There are many other events we do that we put out beforehand, and say, hey, just like coming up in about a week or so, we've got the Hollywood Christmas Parade. That'll take place in Hollywood. It's taking place on the Sunday after Thanksgiving. That might be something you look at. There's an outreach, let's say, that's taking place. Like over here in Battalion 18, I'm working with Freddie that day. He's got an outreach taking place in one of our churches, 2 hours. There's a lot of stuff in there that you can be a part of. Mm-hmm. I don't want to give anybody the impression that if you can't do all this stuff, that it's like, now, it's like you can't be a part of it. You can be. You have parts that you can make fit your life. Great question over there.
Thank you for answering. Yeah, because I was a bit concerned, because I'm like, do I give you a schedule and say, well, I'm available on Monday from like 5 to 8? But, it's because it's tough fitting it in with everything. And as I said, physically, like, look, I'm a little weakling. There's no way I'm carting those water over those hoses. That ain't happening.
Well, that's why you have to team up with Mark Lear.
Work out more and.
But it's like, I think as you become part of it and you watch what we're trotting out to you, the various events, activities, different things like that, you'll find something that fits you. You actually might find some things that fit you in terms of field response as well. I've seen people come in and say, well, I'll just do outreach or whatever. And they get pulled into field response, and, they find a few things that they can and want to do. So it's all there. It's like, if you ever get in there and you're just ask, it's like, hey, what can I be a part of? This is what my life looks like. What can I be a part of? And we'll help you with that.
Thank you.
And
Merlin.
Who's that?
Merlin has a question.
All right.
But you have to unmute yourself to ask a question. Unmute yourself.
Unmute yourself.
No, don't break the camera. You're still muted. Maybe you can unmute her. Hold on.
Maybe I can.
You can request to unmute, but you can't actually unmute anyone.
Yeah, I'm seeing that.
Yeah.
There she goes.
There she comes. Okay.
Yay!
You didn't want me to talk. Okay, after this very actually amazing information session, which both of you have done a fantastic job in telling us what we can and probably cannot do, or as you know, Alana sort of said, there are some things that I know that I'm not going to be able to do, but that's okay. When is actually the next training day that they have for call out? Because I know that this is the lead up, and then obviously we do the day training session. So have you heard a date, or will it be next year? Obviously, we're now so close to the end of the year that, you know, I'd say time is running out. But
I would definitely say next year, but as far as the captain, he has given us no official date as of this time.
Right.
Once we do get that date, we'll pass it out to all you guys. Christy will probably pass it out to you guys, and we'll all pass it out to our various people who are part of it. So I'm pretty sure with you. We had discussions about it because the captain was going to try to squeeze out doing it, but it's just so close to the holidays.
I mean,
it's like, you know, really. So look for it sometime after the first of the year. Stay in touch with Christy or stay in touch with any of us here, and we'll let you know what we know.
Absolutely. Now, my second question is, sorry, everybody, but the ICS, you know, I'm not going to say classes, but that we should go over. Where do we find those? Do we just do a search online and then do it that way? Or is there a specific website that we go to get all that information from?
You will actually take those classes through the FEMA website.
Yeah,
the FEMA website.
It's called the FEMA Independent Study. That's the IS Independent Study.
FEMA Independent
Study.
Yeah, okay.
Once you get to the site, just search for IS 100. That will be your first class. So are you an Aussie or a Kiwi? Which one?
I say British Australian. I grew up in Australia, born in Africa, and I had a British father. So
so you got like 3 accents working at the same
time. And so there you go. So they're very international family.
I think the Aussie shines through. So it's a great accent. That's good.
I love it. I will tell everybody, I want to slide this little thing in very quickly. If you guys go to the FEMA website for those independent study classes, you're going to have to, and I think it's still the way they do it, you have to set up like a user number or a username.
Yeah, that's fine.
You set that stuff up, and then that's how you'll get all your certificates, and they're all stored and everything like that, yada, yada. So,
so once you earn a certificate, you want to make sure that you download it to your computer. And then at some point, you'll need to send it downtown to the CERT unit so that they'll keep a copy on file. And that way we'll know that you've satisfied the requirements for the IS programs.
Okay.
Right.
And the first couple that were on that list, the IS 100 and such, they're very easy. They're usually a half hour to an hour. There's a little quiz in there, so you can take it as many times as you want to get your certificate.
Yeah. And are there any other questions out there from Jeff Radin? Come on up.
Good evening, gentlemen. Thank you very much for the very informative presentation. You guys did a great job here, and as call-out teams, you do an even better job. So thank you for that. And the other questions are great. So kudos to everybody else. I have 3 short questions.
Sure.
First of all, I'm over 60. Was the ban on over 60s before just because of COVID?
Just because of COVID.
So that wouldn't stop me from participating in any of the other packed.
Not unless we have COVID again.
I've had COVID, but it went away.
Yeah, and I'm over 60 also, way over. So don't worry.
During that time, I lost my partner Carl there during that entire time. It was just
year and a half.
It was a bitter experience, but you are free and clear.
Thank you.
I kept complaining and saying, I think I called the captain one day. You know, I said, I'm getting a flat spot on my butt from sitting on the bench for so long. How long is this going to last? But it was about a year. So.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Second question. From the time that the class begins, whenever that is, to the time that you're sworn in and you go through all the rigmarole, how much time is that?
I had Mark Lear answer that question, and he said for his class, which was the most recent class, it was about 4 months.
Okay. All right. Thanks for that one. And finally, this is one question that is close to my heart. Is there any dues, fees, or costs other than the uniform?
Nope. Oh, nope. Well, there aren't, but you'll find that as a CERT person, you know, on the call-out team, you should see the amount of stuff that people buy. You know, different backpacks and
helmets.
You know, better helmets. There is a cost if you want some of the jackets that we buy for everybody, unless we get a grant. But we all tend to collect tools, especially medical stuff, and it just sometimes I call it the most expensive volunteer thing I've ever done, because you just get exposed to all kinds of neat stuff, and you go, I should buy one of those. So otherwise,
I appreciate that. I'm in another volunteer organization.
Yeah.
Besides all the goodies we have to buy, we have about $200 a year of dues and fees and things like that.
No, the only thing you have to buy is the uniform shirt.
And, it's not expensive. And truth be told, that a lot of the gear that you would use, let's say if you were in the field, you know, there's gear on the rigs, like extra helmets, extra vests, different things like that. So you could literally show up with just you and your backpack, and you'd be kind of fine with that. But like Carl said, most of us are very vain, like me, and want to get all that better stuff in my big old helmet, looking like Darth Vader,
and a brush jacket, and you know, so
that's a personal choice. It's a personal choice to go into debt here. But no, to answer your question, no, there are no extra charges outside the uniform.
Thank you very much. Just the last thing that popped into my mind is, I guess there's like close to 20 people here tonight. Are we going to be notified about the classes, or do we have to go out and send anything else in? Or are we already on the list?
You're already on your coordinator's list. For most of you, that's Christy, and for the gang who are here from my area, you're on my list. For some of you, you need to articulate that. I know you're here tonight on the informational, but you guys definitely, especially those of you who came through Christy, you're on a list.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Thanks again for the presentation tonight.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hey, Chief.
Sir, Mr. Freddie.
Piggybacking off of what Jeff was asking, isn't there additional cost for personal radios?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, but those are your radios, not the city's radios. Those are your radios.
Yeah. But I mean, I had to purchase it, so that's an additional cost, right?
Well, that's the FRS GMRS radio. Nobody was breaking their arm to buy it, but since you need to learn how to talk on a radio, it's a good thing.
Yeah. When you're using the city radio for whether it's dispatching out or calling the incident command when you're working an official event, you'll have a city radio. But all that other stuff. All that other stuff.
Yeah, you don't even. I'll tell you what the city radios cost. The black ones, they cost $5,000. Wow. The new yellow ones, they went over. They're $8,000. That's the model number of a Motorola radio is the same as the price, which is interesting. But the department will provide you with we have radios on the rigs. We will assign you a radio when we're on the incident. No problem.
Well, when we did the radio course on Saturday, Ruzi was quite happy to show us his, what was it, $7,000 handheld radio. And he was quite happy to sell it to anyone who was offering to buy it.
And he better pray he never slips and drops that thing, because he's going to be hating life.
I mean,
who has one of those?
You know,
who got one of those radios?
Oh,
somebody took a class the other day.
She said it was Ruzy.
I did the hand pass.
Oh, okay.
Oh, where is he? Oh, well, yeah.
You got 5,000 radios.
Sometimes if you go down in MacArthur Park, you can get a special deal on the ones that fell off the back of the truck.
Yeah, but but here's a caveat: do not go out and buy yourself an 800 megahertz radio and set it to a fire department frequency. We will find you and we will take that radio away from y'all.
And it's also a felony. So just saying.
That's right.
And one more question, and then I'll see if there's anything left, and then we can deploy out of this place. One more question is, what kind of questions will be asked of us at the personnel department's background check? There really aren't any questions that are going to be asked. If I remember correctly, you fill out a form and just
fill out a form and show your ID.
Yeah. Got anything on your record that we need to know about?
You're not being investigated. It's just a simple background check to see if you have outstanding warrants for parking or traffic tickets, you have a felony on your record, you have a DUI.
Yeah.
So, things like DUI, you're not going to be driving department vehicles. And
they will also take a little fingerprint there and run it through R&I or whatever it is, and just make sure that everything matches up. So it's pretty much that's it. And that's the easiest part. And Ronnie Morales, who is joining, good evening, Ronnie. It's good to hear you over there. He's also another one of our great call out people who tripped in here.
I've been here since the beginning. I've been in here since the beginning, but yes, just a fingerprint and that's about it. No, and of course your driver's license. It was real quick, like 5-10 minutes.
That's it. And as Carl,
they don't want to put ink on your fingers anymore. It's electronic fingerprint reader. They'll mush your fingers on them.
Oh, goody! They've gone
to wash your hands. That's all.
Yeah. Any other questions for the gang here? We are a little bit over time, but not horrifically. Any other questions?
Chin, if I can just catch you and Freddie for a couple of seconds after the call here.
Oh, wait, here's a question that just came up. If you currently have employment with the city, background check, you must again. Sorry, guys. The background checks do not float from department to department.
And that's a really weird thing.
But that's the way it is.
But it really is kind of like that. So don't ask me why. It's like, don't work for the city, but they will tell you. It's like, you work for Bureau of Street Lighting? Oh, take another background check. It's like, very strange. So there we go.
Here's a message from Jane. You need to be on my list. Do you have my email, Jane?
What happened?
For Jane. I got a message from Jane D on the chat.
Oh, is she from West Bureau?
I don't know, but is she still with us?
She's there. Y'all figure that out. Anybody else got questions over there? Because if so, a lot of you guys don't know me, but it's like I endeavor to get you out of here on time. I work very hard on that. We don't do meetings that go like 45 minutes overtime. Not in my world. So Patrick, but that's your world, not mine. But
how dare you?
Your stuff goes overtime all the time. Holy crap.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it do.
Yeah, it does.
Hey. Yeah. I've had the third Wednesday of the month for 3 years.
And
what is this meeting scheduled on? And who's going overtime?
I'm only 9 minutes as of this time because I'm going to cut it off right now. Alan Ehrlich, I know you had a question out there about Saturday.
Right.
Yes, we could use a little bit more help out there at the outreach table. So come on up and join us at 10 o'clock till 12. We'll put you to work.
I'll be there 9:30.
Well, thank you, Alan. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And with
Freddie,
that
looking forward to meeting you.
Yeah, and same here, sir. Same here.
And with that said, this is always my famous closing. I want to thank everybody for being here with us tonight. We thank you for the privilege of your time. We know you could be pretty much anywhere doing anything else, not listening to us jack our jaws on this subject, but you guys really want to be a part of the group and the team, and that's why you're here. So thank you guys for coming. If there are any questions, everybody should have my email. You can also ask Christy as well. Let us know. If there's any questions, feel free to reach out, and we will see you guys soon. Everybody have a great night. If I don't see you guys until the new year, happy holidays, everybody.
Oh, and Jane mentioned my email, so.
Thanks,
Chief.
Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Jen. Thanks,
All
Carl.
right, guys.
Night all.
Happy holidays, everybody. God bless.
Ooh, love the clapping hands. See y'all later.
All right, all right, all right.